morning, Team Alabama. We are ready to read some more of Don't You Dare Read This, Mrs. Dunphy. We are ready for page 99. March the 26th. Don't read this, Mrs. Dunphy. Chastity's back at school now, and she made Sandy and Rochelle and me all apologize. I asked Chastity if she thought I smelled bad, and she said, of course not. That was just one of those things that people say in a fight. I am going to do the laundry more often, though. Sandy and Rochelle still aren't being real nice to me. They whisper all the time behind my back, but they will talk to me now. The only thing is I had to agree to go with them to the mall tonight to get them to shut up about how I never do anything fun anymore. I was scheduled to work, so I called in sick. Bud took the call, and I know that he didn't believe me. I'm so stupid. I should have stayed mad at Sandy and Rochelle and asked for extra hours at the Burger Boy. Right now I need money more than friends. Maybe I just won't eat next week. March the 29th. Don't read this, Mrs. Dunphy. When I was getting ready for school this morning, Matt came in and said he didn't have any clean underwear. I couldn't believe that since I stayed up until 3 a.m. last night doing the laundry. I went into his room with him and looked in his drawer, and he was right. There wasn't any underwear there. I asked him if he'd been putting his underwear in the dirty clothes basket, and I tried to be nice about it. But I was so tired, maybe I sounded mean, and he started crying right off, and that made me mad, and I wanted to hit him almost as bad as I wanted to hit Sandy last week. Why is Matt such a wimp? After about 15 minutes, he finally pointed under the bed, and I crawled down there, and sure enough, there was every bit of underwear that Matt owns. I should have been able to smell it. Matt finally told me that he'd been wetting his bed almost every night, but he was so ashamed he just hid the underwear. I looked at his sheets, and they were all stained and stinky too. It was gross. I blew up, and I yelled at Matt. Why was he wetting his bed now? Didn't he know he was too old for that? Did he think that I had time to change his sheets every night? Matt just cried harder, and I got to feeling terrible. It's not like Matt is wetting his bed on purpose. I told him to make it up to him that we'd both stay home from school, and I'd play games with him all day and fix him whatever he wanted for lunch, and we'd just have fun together. I didn't remember until after school would have been out that I was supposed to have 2 tests today. It's not like I would have done very well on them anyhow. March the 30th. Don't read this, Mrs. Dunphy. Matt and I didn't go to school today either. It felt so good just to sleep and sleep and sleep, and I didn't get up until noon. Someone from Matt's school called to check up on him, but I just pretended to be mom, and I gave them some big story about how Matt had a horrible fever, and it wasn't really that much of a lie because he does have a bad cold. Nobody called from the high school to check up on me. Today would have been great as yesterday, except that when I went to fix lunch for Matt and me, I couldn't find anything except Cheerios, no milk, and some icky kinds of soup that Mom must have bought for Dad. Who else would eat something as sick as split pea? So I guess I'll have to send Matt to school tomorrow so he'll get lunch. I don't get paid until Friday, and I'm all out of cash. I decided to call the Burger Boy and see if I could get some more hours. Guess what I found out? Mr. Seagrave got a new job somewhere else. That wouldn't matter so much except for who's going to replace him. Good old Bud Turner. Gag, gag, gag. The person I talked to, Lexi, made some crack about how that would be great for me since Bud's always had a crush on me. I didn't tell her Bud's been real mean ever since I said that I wouldn't go out with him. I hate the thought that he'll be my real boss and I won't be able to go to Mr. Seagrave anymore. April the 1st, page 102. How long's Mom been gone? Since February 12th. Okay, so February 12th, March 12th, 1 month, April 12th would be 2 months, and it's April the 1st. And she's been handling it all this time, but things are getting really tough. So add some new facts. What do we know now? Mr. Seagrave left Burger Boy. He's the one that kind of was fair with her. Now Bud Turner's in charge. What do you think's going to happen? What will Bud Turner do now that he's in charge of Burger Boy? Ask that question. April the 1st. Don't read this, Mrs. Dunphy. Back when I was Matt's age, this was the day everyone was scared of. April Fool's Day. I never got tricked, but lots of people did. Mean tricks, too. Like lids on ketchup bottles being unscrewed so the next person who used them got a lap full of ketchup. And when I saw the mail today, I expected someone to jump out from somewhere and say, "Gotcha, April Fools." But all the letters were real. First, there were a ton more bills, and it looks like Mom was playing the little $5 game herself with the electric company and the phone company and everybody else for a long time now. I got 2 bills today that said final notice, pay in full or service will be cut off. At least it's warmer outside now, so Matt and I won't freeze. Being without electricity can't be that bad, can it? Anyhow, besides those bills, I got something that said notice of property tax. It's for something like $200, and when I read the fine print at the bottom, it said our house could be taken away if we don't pay. Where am I supposed to get $200? Then, and this really takes the cake. On top of all that, Mom sent us a postcard. It was of a beach somewhere in California, and she had written all about how she and Dad were back together now and happy, blah, blah, blah. At the bottom, it said, "Hope you and Matt are okay. I'll try to send some more money soon. You have enough for now, don't you, love?" Thanks, Mom. Thanks a lot. You better send that money fast or the mailman will have to deliver it to us on the streets. And why'd you ask a question without a return address or a phone number so that we could answer? I would have hidden the card from Matt, except he was the one who got the mail. Of course he started crying, and of course that made me mad and I yelled at him. Sometimes I think maybe he'd be better off without me. I'm not taking very good care of him at all. His cold is worse, he's still wetting the bed, and he cries every day. But then tonight he crawled up in my lap, even though he really is too big, and said he was glad that I stayed with him. After Matt was in bed, I crocheted a lot, but for once it didn't help me keep my mind off anything. Anyhow, that stupid Afghan is just about done. Tish, wow, you did an extra entry again. Great, but can't you let me read one sometime soon? April the 7th. Don't read this, Mrs. Dunfrey. Oops, I didn't mean to write 5 entries last time. At least Mrs. Dunfrey thinks that I'm doing something right. Everything else is going wrong. I got fired today. The thing is, I didn't even do anything. When I went into work, Bud told me that he wanted to see me back in his office, and when I got there, he shut the door and said, "Tish, we're not going to need your help anymore." I was real stupid. I kept saying, "What? What do you mean?" He said since he'd taken over, he'd found out that the restaurant was definitely overstaffed, and that he needed to let a few people go to keep the overhead low. Yeah, right. And then why was I the only person fired? I asked if he wanted me to work my regular shift tonight, and I thought maybe that I could be real nice to him and talk him into letting me keep my job. But Bud just said that won't be necessary. And then he gave me my last paycheck and told me goodbye. He looked so happy firing me. I wish I'd punched him right in that pimply nose. But Grandma would have been proud of me, and I was real dignified. Okay, add dignified to your vocab. Dignified means proper. She was very proper when she walked out. I said, "Fine. It's been a pleasure working with you." So she didn't get all crazy on him. She was very proper, dignified. If I could lie, so can I. If he could lie, then so can I. I know he was just getting back at me for not going out with him back in the fall. I haven't told anyone yet. I know Rochelle would tell me to file some sex discrimination suit or something, but I can't have anyone nosing around. And wouldn't I have to hire a lawyer for that? Without my Burger Boy money, I can't afford anything. Tomorrow, I'm going to look for another job. Wendy's has got to be hiring, or McDonald's, or somebody. Okay, that's it for today, Team Alabama. Go ahead and add a few more questions or a few more facts. Have a great rest of your day.